Hello everyone, I'm Eco100. Welcome to Meta Hype. I'm here with my friend Venga Dragon. How's it going, Venga?
I'm doing well, man. I am excited to hear what you think is going to be those best decks, man.
Yeah, nothing much is going on. Obviously, going to do this show with you, and I'm really excited to talk about what's going to happen in the meta after the nerfs. I basically want to tell you what I think the top 4 classes are going to be with the nerfs and buffs that are coming out. And that's basically it. There are a lot of other classes, and there'll probably be some shifting around, but I think that the top 4 are the most important because they will be the most impactful on the meta. But I also do think that the meta will be brought in a little bit, so that way there will be like more consistent variety. Just as a general rule, I think that the meta will be more balanced after all of this.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I know that the first comment that we're going to see is hopefully my Shaman.
Yeah, I do think Shaman's going to get like the most love for sure. I don't know if it'll be enough. Or knowing Blizzard, they might go a bit too far. And like 7 of the buff cards will be Shaman. And next thing you know, Shaman will have like everything it needs and it'll just win. But I'm going to believe in Blizzard. I'm going to be like, Blizzard, you know what you're doing. You won't over buff it. But yeah, I basically, we didn't talk about this necessarily beforehand, but I basically want to go down the list and be like, this is what I think the number 1 class will be. And then hear what you think the number 1 class will be. Discuss it real quick and move on basically. So the number 1 class that I think is going to happen is Hunter. I think Hunter will be the strongest class in the game, at least right out of the gate, because Face Hunter is just really, really aggressive. I don't think that it's enough on the radar to get one of the nerfs. But if it does see a nerf to like Warsong Wrangler because it's really, really efficient, it might not be number 1. But I'm pretty sure they're going to focus more of their nerfs on like Paladin, Mage, and Warrior because those have been more dominant at like higher ranks, which is, and like for Grandmasters and whatnot. Like not a lot of people have played Hunter, pretty easily counterplayed. So yeah, I think Hunter will be number 1. What do you think will be number 1?
Well, I think Hunter is definitely going to be up there. And the funny part is I feel like even with the nerfs that Paladin is still going to be a real contender.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. It'll be really strong.
And I mentioned that because I was watching one of your videos. You did the one on the big Paladin, which I like to call Dragon Paladin, by the way. But it's and one of the comments in your video was that Paladin, you could put any cards in it right now and it'll be good.
And it would be good. You just put in the sword and the secrets.
And that's one of the things that always happens, right? Is that regardless of when you do these nerfs, and this is basically quoting Ecor, is if another class goes down, somebody has to take its place. So, that's your words, man. And I agree with that wholeheartedly, 100%.
No, yeah, I kind of see what you're saying. And I was going to put Paladin as number 2 for me. I think that they are going to crack down on the nerfs a little bit more than they did last expansion or last patch where it was like just the sword. And they're like, oh yeah, people were complaining about the sword. We're going to just nerf the sword. That'll fix everything. No, there are a lot more broken things about Paladin. But I'm pretty sure Crab Rider is going to get nerfed, which will indirectly nerf Paladin. Well, I guess kind of directly nerf Paladin, but like not a class card. And I think that maybe one other direct class card nerf to Paladin would be pretty good. But I still think despite that, the sword with the secrets, maybe it shifts back towards like Libram if you can't run the Crab Riders as much anymore. Maybe it'll run, maybe people start running big Paladin again. But overall, I think that it'll still be a very strong class. I just think that if it loses some of the tempo, some of the buffs that it has, or like gets slowed down a little bit, aggro decks like Hunter will be able to kill it faster. Control decks like Warrior, Priest, and maybe even Shaman, depending on what direction that goes, will survive a little bit longer. So yeah, I think Paladin will be 2, but not too far behind Hunter.
What do you think about Priest? I mean, Priest is almost like seemed pretty OP at some point too. Like it's either hit or miss with that class, but maybe that's one.
I think Priest is gonna stay 8th place, honestly, because right now it's 8th place on Hearthstone Replay. And the reason why is 2 reasons. One, I'm doing this based on like Hearthstone Replay statistics, and Priest is typically like a kind of harder class to play because there's a lot of generation. You have to be really efficient with your removal and all that. But the other thing is it typically did well against some of these more aggressive decks because of the removal. Like the reason why people brought Grandmasters was because it did do well against Paladin, Hunter, Warrior, Mage for the most part, because he had a ton of healing and efficient removal. But I feel like the decks that are going to see the most buffs are slower decks that might just be able to outvalue it. Like I think Warlock, Control Warlock, Mill Warlock will come back a little bit when the aggro slows down a bit. I think that Shaman Control or like Doomhammer aggro will come back and be able to burst Priest down potentially. I think Rogue is not going to get nerfed or really buffed. So I think that it's just going to be able to outvalue Priest. I just don't think Priest is in a bad enough spot to get buffs. The decks that it was pretty good against are getting nerfed, and so because of that, I don't think it'll move that much personally. personally, but maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? I could potentially be very wrong.
What about that archetype, the rogue? Think it will increase? I mean, or become more popular, should I say? I mean, if it increases in power, wow. But
that was actually that leads me into my next one. My third one is going to be rogue. I think the third place deck or class is going to be rogue because of stuff like that. I think weapon rogue has gone kind of under the radar. Excuse me, a little bit under the radar recently. I think it's actually a really good deck. I've seen a couple of different builds of it. I've seen a couple of people start running the pirate. It's a 2-mana 2. I don't remember the name, but it's a 2-mana 2/2 that does 2 damage if you have a weapon equipped, and just building the weapon rogue a little bit more aggressively, along with obviously the weapons and all the poisons. Rogue typically has just great draw in general, and all these things combined, along with sometimes high rolling with the wand maker to get an extra like deadly poison, can lead to the deck doing a lot of damage. My biggest concern with that deck, however, is if you run acidic swamp ooze, that deck will not work. I think Doomhammer Shaman, if Shaman gets a buff, we'll see more play in general. And if there are 2 really strong weapon decks in the meta, or at least pretty strong weapon decks in the meta, people run acidic swamp ooze, because I think control warlock, priest, maybe control shaman, maybe control warrior will all come into the meta a little bit more if the meta slows down, which is what I think is going to happen. Which means that the weapon's going to be probably killed. I think that the more powerful rogue decks and the ones that'll see the most play are still Miracle and Secret, unless the Octobot gets nerfed.
Yeah.
And even then, it'll still probably see some decent play.
Yeah, Miracle rogue is absolutely a blast to play. Like, if you want to sit down there and like think and really like have to structure out not only turn 1 but turn 10 at the same time, like that's the thing about secret rogue. You really got to be like, many of the classes out there, you all should be doing, say, next turn and the turn thereafter and maybe the turn thereafter. But with secret rogue or even miracle rogue, it feels like you should be thinking about turn 10 on turn 1. Like, it's so far, you're planning, takes so much planning, and in the hands of very skilled players, it could be pretty impressive. That's going to be pretty interesting, actually. So get your counters together for Secret Rogue. Get out your Secret Rogue, Miracle Rogue handbook.
And the last one I think is going to be Warrior. I do think Warrior will drop a little bit because Warrior did do really well against Paladin in the past, because you're able to just rush into all their minions before they can do anything. And Warrior did a little bit worse against Hunter because Hunter had a ton of direct damage, and I think if Hunter goes up, Paladin goes down, and then Rogue goes up because it has just a ton of value, just because that's what Rogue does. I think Warrior will drop a little bit, but I also think that it'll still probably be better than most of the other classes in the game still, because I think Mage is going to get hit hard, Druid's not going to see any love, Warlock and Priest are kind of just not great, and Demon Hunter and Shaman, even if they get buffed, I think will still be like 5th and 6th at best, unless they get like really buffed. Demon Hunter might become a top 4. It depends on how strong they get buffed though.
We went through the first 3, and you don't think that Warrior is going to be one of the most dominant classes? Because the whole time while you were talking about the top 3 and which ones we were talking about, I was like, when's he going to get to Warrior? I expected Warrior, much sooner.
Well, there are a couple of things with Warrior. I think Warrior, because it's a more control-based class and Rush doesn't like have insane draw, but like it does have good value. I think it's a little harder to play. So I was talking just strictly win rates, I think it will be probably 4th. I think if it's like played super optimally, I think it could be the 2nd best class behind Rogue. I don't know. I've just played a lot of Rogue recently, and I am like, this class is freaking bonkers. This deck can do absolutely everything. The amount of damage it can put out and tempo it generates is insane. Like, when I look at my win rates on 2 different decks, so far I have Miracle and Secret Rogue, and I'm 7-1 with Miracle, 4-1 with Secret Rogue, and it's beat everything. And the only loss, okay, I've lost 2 games in total. One of them was against another Rogue matchup, and then the other one was against a Paladin, but the Paladin high rolled, so that doesn't matter. Point is, I think Rogue's insane. Paladin, a 56% win rate, even if it's nerfed, will still probably be above 50%, and Hunter's just a really easy class, so that's basically it for me. I think that Warrior's just a little bit behind them.
The statistics are something that thrill me. I'm a baseball fan, as you all know, and one of the things that I enjoy most about Hearthstone is looking at things like Hearthstone replay and seeing the statistics, and then what's tier 1, what's tier 2, and the win rates of cards and everything. So that's pretty cool to me, and your reasoning behind it really makes sense. On my video, we check that out and see what's going on, man. There's some interesting perspectives that I came up with, but I want to see what Ecor has to say. We're going to go and check that out, right?
Yep.